All right, I believe we are online now. And hello and welcome, dog lovers. I'm gonna Yes, we are live, and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Saro. I'm a dog trainer and also coach dog owners. You are watching a live broadcast of my one of my topics that I have chosen today to talk about on my channel. We're going to talk about separation anxiety in dogs and how to deal with that. This is one of the questions that I get a lot, and I'm going to try to explain and give you some advice on how to deal with this issue. If you are if you're online and you're watching this live, please feel free to go ahead and type in your questions that you have as well in the chat area, in the chat box, and I'll try to answer them. So if you're your first timer here, also please make sure to go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss uh, my future videos and high quality content like this in future. Today I'm in my office and I am recording this and I'm live today. But I'm going to try to explain as much as I can within the next 30 minutes. And if there's some time left, I'll answer some questions. So I'm in my office. There are some sounds around. If it's something that is bothering you, let me know through the chat line, and I will fix that. So let me start with the idea of what is this? Why is this a big problem? Separation anxiety. Many dog owners they leave their dogs home for certain hours, a few hours maybe, or long hours or even short hours. They leave their dogs home alone, and the dog is either destroying the house or furniture, or is getting stressed and howling and barking and all kinds of things like that. So it could it could be something that either the dog is experiencing in a low level or a high level, but the dogs are in general experiencing stress, so anxiety. So we call that separation anxiety. There's actually two kinds of anxiety that dogs are going through. Um, it's not only separation anxiety. It could be broken down to a few levels. One, it could be that they are separated from their humans and they are stressed. It could be that they are separated from their certain person that they are attached to, and they're separated and they get stressed because that person is not there. Could be also location separation anxiety, if you know what I mean. So it could be that they are stressed because they're either in the house or they could be in another location and they're missing the house, for example. They're missing the house environment if they are staying somewhere else with someone else. It could be also they're stressed because their feelings are not balanced. They're feeling either alone, they're feeling sad, or they're feeling some anxiety. Also, the feeling can cause to for them to be having that anxiety as well. So basically, what it means is the dog could either be stressing or getting anxious because of one uh, feeling, or could be combination of uh, reasons that the dog gets anxious. Now, what I'm gonna explain in this part is, if you understand this part, I'm sure it's gonna help you to deal with most of your dog's behavioral issue. Um, Dogs have been bred and designed to live and work and be with humans. So naturally they want to be with their humans. And if the human is not around, it's kind of unnatural for them. So you have to understand this concept that dogs naturally want to be with us. So if they are feeling that you are there all the time and all of a sudden you are not there, it's kind of unnatural for them. So it becomes a stressful feeling for them, a stressful situation for them. So they get stressed. Some dogs, some dogs they can tolerate being separated or away from you for a few hours, maybe for a few days, and then they can't. Uh, some they can tolerate, and some they can't. It's just individually different. It's not something that you can fix this. It's not something that it's fixable. It's not something that you say, we can fix the dog to not to feel anxiety when it's separated from us. It's just like humans and every other creature, I believe, individually, each one of us, we feel differently, but uh, and tolerate things differently when it comes to certain uh, situations, certain feelings, certain conditions. For example, myself, I just lost my older beagle in January, and for a month that he had passed away, I was anxious. I was really anxious because I was missing it. I was um, the separation that I had of him. It was causing me to feel stressed because for the past 16 years, 15, 16 years, he was always with me 24/7, and all of a sudden he wasn't there. I was feeling stressed. So somehow I had to deal with it. Somehow I had to get over it, and somehow I had to learn to cope with it. So dogs also, you can't teach them. You can't teach them to. You can't get them to get rid of anxiety, but you can teach them to tolerate that feeling, and that happens only that only when we start teaching them. We have to teach them. We can't just let them uh, learn it on their own. On their own, they can't figure it out how to solve that problem because we go back to the beginning. Is it's a natural. Uh, it's naturally they've been bred to live with humans. So if you are not there, again, automatically they go to the different zone of being stressed. You're not there. So you have to teach them how to deal with the idea of being separated from you. So the way you teach this and the way you start helping a dog to deal with this issue is like many behaviors that dogs learn. It takes time to teach a dog how to deal with this issue. The easiest way to understand how to teach a dog to learn this behavior is rather than starting to live the dog alone to learn to cope with being alone is to start way ahead of time, maybe few months or few weeks or few months before you actually see some results. So it takes time. You want to focus on building that tolerance in the dog so they can start slowly and eventually learning to tolerate you not being there. So the way you do that is, first of all, you start coming up with a long-term plan, a few weeks or a few months, and you work on it slowly. So one of the things that I suggest is also not to depend on tools and gadgets, oils and something like thunder shirts and gadgets that calm the dog down and music and all that. These are quick solutions, and they are like band-aid solutions. They don't really get over the behavior. They mask the behavior. Uh, the behavior is always there. It's just hidden in there. It's just you're masking it with whatever tool or gadget or whatever you're using. The behavior has to, the key here is to teach the dog to learn to tolerate the behavior, if you know what I mean. So, oils and thunder shirts and things like that, they are not the answer. The answer is to focus on investing in a long term of learning and teaching how to get dogs to tolerate separation anxiety and being away from you. So the easiest way, now this is going to come as shock to you, the easiest way that you can teach a dog to tolerate with you is start training your dog. Now you're going to say, what do you mean I have to start training your dog? So either you go back to basics, you restart training your dog, or you continue on training your dog. So the way you do is, I would say for this issue, separation anxiety, we're going to need three commands that we need to focus on. You're going to teach to your dog three commands, three basic obedience commands. So you start with the sit, then you go to stay, and after stay, you go to wait command. There's a difference between the stay and wait. And I'll explain what the difference is. The difference between stay and wait is stay, your dog is learning to stay in that position for a certain time, let's say a minute up to 5 minutes, and you are in his or her point of view. The dog can see you. The dog can see you and knows where you are and feels that you're there, and it can start learning that okay, when I have been told to sit and stay, my human is right there and I can see it, and it's telling me not to move. So that's how you start building the tolerance. So the dog learns that if I stay here and my human is there, I can sit and stay as much as my owner wants me until my owner gives me a release command, and then I can learn the next lesson. The next lesson you can start teaching the dog is the wait. Now, wait is the dog is sitting or staying in that spot, sit and stay. You're telling the dog to sit and then stay, and then you can change to wait. Wait is your dog is in that position that you have left it, or it could be released from that position that is being put in the originally, let's say sit, and you're not in dog's point of view in this command. And it's longer. So it goes from 5 minutes to 4 hours maybe. So you're teaching the dog to tolerate not seeing you for 5 minutes up to 4 hours. So the way you teach a dog to wait is you start just like sit and stay. You start with 10 seconds sit and stay, and then you move on to 20 seconds and 40 seconds, 50 seconds, and 1 minute, and then move to from 1 minute to 2 minutes and 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and 5 minutes. On the wait command, you teach the dog to wait for you for 5 minutes, or you can start even from again from 10 seconds. What you do, you tell your dog to sit and stay in a room, and you leave the room and you come back after 10 seconds. And then you praise your dog. And then you practice more. You tell your dog to sit and stay, and you leave the room for 20 seconds, and you come back and you praise the dog if the dog is still in sit and stay position. And you increase little by little every day or every week till you get to that point that you can tell your dog to sit and stay, and you leave the room and you say wait, you leave the room, and 5 minutes later you come back. And then you keep going more and more to get to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, and on and on. That's how you teach a dog to tolerate separation anxiety. It's by teaching the dog mentally. The dog has to learn mentally that this is doable. I know, uh, the dog has to say and feel that I know this. I know what's coming. I know what's going to happen. I'm not going to be surprised when all of a sudden my owner leaves me and goes to work or goes here and there. I'm not surprised. I know exactly what's going to happen. We've done this practice. The dog has to say, we've done this practice and we practice this for a long time. I know exactly what's coming. I know if I sit and stay here and my owner says, wait, and he or she leaves the room or the house, he or she is going to come back soon. So my job as a dog is now just to sit and wait. Their job now is to wait. So remember this, when you leave your dog home alone and you don't say anything to your dog, or you leave your dog just as is, or you leave toys and treats and things like that, or bones or like that, and just leave, it's not that your dog knows what it's supposed to do. That your dog gets all those throughout the day. They don't know what they're supposed to do when you live. When you live, when you leave your dog in the house and say be a good boy or be a good girl, and then you leave, what happens? Your dog says, "What happened? Why did you leave me? What did I do? Why am I being punished? Why are you all of a sudden leaving me and going?" Uh, so what you want to do is, sorry, I think I am like this. So what you want to do, you want to prepare your dog for uh, for what is coming. You don't want to surprise your dog. You want to prepare your dog for what it comes next. So your dog also has to be not surprised and also be aware what it's supposed to do. So as I said in the beginning, dogs have been bred, designed to live and work for and with humans. So in this case, for example, what you're doing, you're telling your dog to wait for you. The dog is getting into that work mode. You leave, you leave the house, you tell your dog to stay. Your dog gets into that working mode of my job now is to wait for my owner. So what you do is you ask your dog to wait for you because you want them to tolerate the behavior of um, being um, left alone. And for them, it becomes a little bit kind of a work. So when they start feeling that I can tolerate this and I can learn this behavior and practice it, then they become more relaxed. It's not a surprise. So most of the time, um, when dogs are uh, left alone, it's because of that surprise that they get, uh, that they don't know what they're supposed to do, and they get stressed. They get surprised because they don't know what they're supposed to do. Two is because you haven't practiced with them what they're supposed to do when they are left alone. And number three is it's just they're not familiar with that position. They become um, in their own familiar with that feeling. And um, number four, you can ask them to work for it. So what it means is if you stay, let's say for example, when you're teaching your dog to wait for you, and you ask your dog to wait, and the dog um, If you ask your dog to wait for you, your dog waits, and you play with it or you praise it, your dog learns that that becomes a job for it. So after a while, they learn that it's okay for them to be alone, and they're gonna work for it. So what happens is when you leave them alone for real this time, they say, "My job is to wait for my mom or dad." So they don't stress themselves. They actually work. They're working mentally. In that point of view, they're working mentally. So what I mean by that is they're waiting for you, and mentally they're just uh, waiting for you to come back. Now, the last thing that I would suggest is that you shouldn't leave any dog, in my opinion, more than 4 hours. You shouldn't leave your dog home alone more than 4 hours. It's just too much for dogs to be left alone more than that, unless again your dog can tolerate it. But physically they need to be stepped out and go and do their business. Mentally, it's just too much for them, for most dogs, to be left alone more than that. And also, again, uh, figure out what is exactly your dog anxious about. Is it anxious about because you've left, the humans have left the dog home alone, or certain person is has left the house? For example, um, me and my wife, which we have Harvey, a beagle. Uh, if I leave the house, Harvey doesn't care much. But if my wife leaves, he's really concerned about it. So he's more attached to my wife. So therefore, he gets more stressed if my wife leaves, and he's left alone without my wife, right? So he stresses a little bit, but I help him to distress himself. Um, so he has learned to tolerate that now. So again, figure out if it's the certain person or it's just humans, that your dog is stressed about being left alone. Is it um, is it the location? Is it the house that your dog is missing, or if you leave your dog with neighbor's place, at your neighbor's or friend's place, is the dog stressing because it's not in their home, or is it because they're stressed again because they're separated from you or from dogs and regular humans? So all of these things you have to consider it, but start focusing on helping your dog to be able to tolerate being away from you or separated from you. So the easiest way is just to go back to training and start training your dog. Start with teaching your dog to sit, stay, release command, and wait. So sit, stay, release, wait. Those are the few commands that you can start focusing on in this case, and work with your dog for a few weeks, maybe a few months, until you get to that level that you can see and say that your dog is able to tolerate being separated from you for maybe a few hours even. Maybe an hour, start with an hour in a month, and see how your dog does, and then start increasing it. Again, don't depend on tools and gadgets. Those don't really solve the problem. They mask the problem. The, the, the main solution should be focused on the dog's mental state of mind, the mind of the dog. I hope this makes sense to you, and I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave the comments in the comments area, and I'll try to answer them and also reply to them. Uh, if you need to learn more, please visit my channel, and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss high quality content like this in future. And tomorrow I'll be releasing another video as well regarding leaving dogs in a hot car, which is a no-no in my opinion. So hopefully you'll see that. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Until next time, have fun with your dog.